Hello gang, welcome back once again to our guide series in the Long Dark. My name is Lonelywolf and we're here today to discuss the differences, pros and cons between harvesting and quartering your kill. So after you've made your kill via hunting, be it a deer, a wolf, a bear or a moose, you're faced with a decision to either harvest it or to quarter it. And maybe you aren't aware that there's two different options you can approach it by, and well, here's your introduction. Now obviously, you may be wondering, which is best? Well, it's not exactly as if there's any singular best option. Either one can suit your needs, depending on your situation. So we'll run over the pros and cons of each real quick. For hunting, after you've completed hunting, for harvesting, the pros of it is that the goods you collect are of a higher quality than you would if you had quartered. You can do it on your terms, bit by bit, piece by piece. If you want to save some for later and come back and harvest it up later, you can. Or if you want to do it all at once, that's at your fingertips. So that's the pros to harvesting. The cons to harvesting are it takes time depending on how much of it there is to harvest. So in the case of any animal, your harvest time is going to be relatively static for the hide, and the time for each gut is the same too, but the number of guts increases with each animal. For example, if I recall correctly, bunnies have 2 guts, deer have 4 I believe, as do wolves, and moose and bear both have an absolute crap load of guts. So to harvest all of it, that takes time. Then of course you have the meat, and that takes time to harvest per piece. So for harvesting, your times can get extremely conflated if you have a big kill, such as a bear or a moose. Now the pros to quartering is it's 2 hours flat no matter what the animal is. So if you are in the mood to quarter it, it's only going to take 2 hours just to complete the quartering. However, I can't fit because his body's in the way. However, with quartering, you're not completing the process in one go. You may think, oh, well, 2 hours, one stop versus harvesting. Well, that's really easy choice. Well, it's not. When you quarter a creature, you get a number of bags left over. The hide and the guts will all just be on the ground. However many guts there are. For example, with my bear, there's 10 guts. 1 hide. There's only ever 1 hide. However, it will leave bags of meat, roughly 20 pounds. Convert that to kilos if you are using international units or metric units instead of imperial or American units. But anyway, you can see as I go up the meat section here, you see over on the right, if I were to harvest, that my time is getting quite exponentially high. For the whole thing, it's going to take me nearly 11 hours just to harvest the meat. That doesn't include hide, which brings it up to nearly 12, and all the guts, which puts me at 13 hours, compared to harvesting, or quartering I should say, which takes 2 hours no matter what I pick. Now, the cons to quartering is that your meat right here, will be of a much lower condition compared to just harvesting, if you quarter, when it comes out. It also comes out in bags, which deteriorate quite quickly. And you'd have to spend the time to harvest the bags. The bags also are much heavier than the content stored within. To keep it realistic and balance the game mechanics, if you were to just cut up your bear, you're hauling an entire flank along with you. That includes bone and everything else that's included on that shank and not just the usable meat. So the bags weigh a lot more than what you get out of it. So the pros to quartering is you can quarter your animal quickly, in shelter perhaps, if you killed it in an advantageous position as I did here. And you can just come back and grab the bags at your leisure, cart them to safety, or relative safety, and process or finish the process there. The only major drawback to that is the meat condition. Whereas with harvesting, you're going to be stuck at the site of the location of the kill, harvesting away until it's done, which brings about its own dangers. As you can see, it's currently snowing. This could go to be a nice little old blizzard, which could freeze us out very quickly, or it could clear up. One never knows in the long dark, so it's best to think ahead and be prepared. If I want to spend the whole 13 hours today harvesting away, I'm going to need a fire to stay warm potentially. And to keep it in fact, you're also going to want to know where the local wolves patrol at. Because as you harvest, you're going to be getting smelly. If you harvest and you just drop it on the ground like this, you're not going to be smelly. But as soon as I pick this sucker up, if you see in the top middle, I'm smelly again. So the more you harvest, the smellier you're going to be. You're going to want a fire to both warm you up, thaw the carcass out so that it harvests quicker, and to scare wolves away in case they get a little too inquisitive. Whereas with quartering, you don't have to worry about any of that per se. I would put a fire up just to ward off wolves because again, you will still be smelly during the process. And to keep you warm if it is a bit cold outside. But other than that, it's relatively risk-free because it's much less time spent. So that's the dichotomy between harvesting and quartering. Is time spent, potential for threats, and the condition of the goods collected. So as you can see, I harvested this little piece of meat yesterday after I made my kill before I went and slept. And this piece of meat is at 90% condition. Now if I were to spend the time to harvest or to quarter, man, I'm just going to keep spamming out the wrong word for which one I'm referring to. If I were to go about quartering this guy, the bags would probably come out at anywhere between 60 to 80% condition, and the meat harvested out of them is going to match that condition. But because those bags deteriorate very quickly, the meat's not going to be at the same condition. So harvesting is really good if you're in it for the long term, if you just want your meat and you want it to last. If you're in it for a quick kill, say a deer or a wolf, then you can easily get your meat out. It's not going to matter because you'll be eating it in the next few days. The final consideration to take into account between harvesting and quartering in regards to time is the size of the animal. When it comes down to weighing out the pros and the cons, it will vary between your playstyles as to which you'd prefer, but for me, I find it almost negligible to ever consider quartering a wolf or a deer because of their size. The time taken to harvest them in their entirety is only relatively a bit longer than the total time to quarter for the much longer and much higher condition on the meat gained. So again, it's just going to come down to which you prefer and weighing out the pros versus the cons. Harvesting is never the always go-to, neither is quartering. Depends on what you've killed, where you've killed it, the weather, proximity to threats such as wolves, your current condition, what kind of clothes you have on, and what your preferred method is for dealing with your kills. I hope this has kind of helped dissect the matter a little bit to give you some things to think about and make it a little bit easier to decide between quartering and harvesting. The ultimate thing to keep in mind is what is most important to you. Your health, your condition, your potential for threats. Is it the condition of the things you gain? Is it the time spent processing? All of these are considerations to take into account when you're deciding between harvesting versus quartering. Well, I hope this little guide has helped you, and hopefully there will be far more guides coming out in the future with far more varied topics to help you guys thrive and survive in the long dark. Also, if you notice, I think this weather's going to be getting a little bit blizzardish. So, if I had decided to harvest this guy, and the wind shifts direction, my fire's going to go out, whereas if I had just quartered him, well, 2 hours, it would still turn into a blizzard within those 2 hours anyway. But I digress. You get the idea. It's a matter of balancing out your gains versus your losses, your risks versus rewards. I hope this guide has helped you. As always, go ahead and leave a like if this video did help you. Consider subscribing if you'd like to see more guides or just playthroughs and all sorts of other content. And I will see you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe, and most importantly, stay stinking warm out there. It is cold today.